Whoa.
Welcome to the House of Men's Mental Health here on the Bartender's Jukebox Podcast. I'm here with Jared, aka Ox Hog. How you been, brother?
All right, buddy. How you been?
I can't complain, man. I can't complain. Enjoying this fall weather these days.
No, it's beautiful out here today.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I noticed you. I seen you had posted up that you were considering moving. You got tired of being around, the
Oh,
highway and stuff like that.
yeah. We're when I retire next year, we're gonna start. I mean, it'll be a couple of years probably, but we're gonna start looking for land, and I either want to probably put a modular or one of them barn dominiums on a little piece of land. And so I'm tired. The highway finally, after 20 some years, has got to me. So
Yeah, it does catch up to you. I know. Me 6 months ago moving up here. I mean, I lived right next to a highway myself, and
yeah.
yeah, it's you'll love the peace and quiet, brother. Absolutely love it.
I know. My buddy has a farm. We actually get our eggs from him. He has a little farm, and he's out like pretty much middle of nowhere. And there's people close enough in case you need something, but there's not everybody on top of you. You know what I mean? Plus, out here, I mean, where I live now, there's it changed a little bit. There's more drama than there used to be. So I'm looking at what I mean. I'm looking at relieving myself of the nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you one bit. Like I said, I don't know. It's solitude, being out in nature here. I mean, it's good for the soul. Like
I
I
think
don't
it's
feel
fun.
nearly as anxious or depressed like I was just being here. I absolutely love it. So that's one of my recommendations for anybody dealing with depression and anxiety. Try to get out and enjoy nature.
Yeah, I mean, I whatchamacallit, I loved it out here. I mean, I always liked the city. I loved, the noise, the big buildings, and I still do to a point.
Mm,
But and this is anything from a big city where I live, but like this just constantly I think more so because I'm downstairs in our house now for such like almost 6 months because of healing. Like steps ain't a thing for me yet. So I think like I notice it more because I'm down here more. You know what I mean? Like I'm
yeah,
down on the bottom floor more. Where our bedroom's in the back of the house, upstairs, so you don't really hear it as much. So
yeah.
yeah, I definitely had enough now. I've had enough.
I noticed you're wearing a Halloween shirt there.
Yes, yes. My
Uh,
favorite time of the year next to Patty's Day.
Nice, nice. All right, so the movies. Did you like the old school ones or the Rob Zombie version?
Oh, I hated the Rob Zombie ones. I hated
Yeah.
them. Hated them. I loved the old school ones, and then 1 and 2 are my favorite, and then
Mm.
the Blumhouse ones. The last one was terrible. The other two weren't too bad, but I mean, like, I've seen all of them except the Rob Zombie. I've seen the Rob Zombie ones a couple times, but I've seen the rest of them. I could probably quote them for you. I don't know if I've seen them more or Rocky more, but I like this is my favorite month on AMC's Fear Fest. I have AMC on all the time for the whole month.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
the exception of Patty's Day. This is my favorite time of the year.
All right. So which one's your favorite Rocky movie?
4.
Hands down, yes. Yes. I still rock that soundtrack.
So do I. I use it when I'm at the gym.
Oh man, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
I love that Russian character. I love Drago's character. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I think they could do so much more. Even now, I think even now they could do so much more with that character. I mean, when I was a kid, I was scared to death of him. When I seen Rocky 4. I saw like my dad took me to the movies. Like I think it was like 3 or 4 times I went to see it actually in the movies then, and I must have seen it. I don't know, probably no less than 1,000 times. And that character still, I think it's spent. He's just. I think they just could do so much more with that character. You know what I mean? Backstory. You know what I mean? So
Yep. I kind of like what they did with the Karate Kid, how they kind of branched it off. I know there was a theory on Facebook for a little. People were saying that if you kind of flip the script with the first Karate Kid, that Daniel LaRusso was the new kid, kind of the bad one, taking
yeah,
away the girl from the guy already. So I mean, yeah, It would be great to hear, like, if they would make a movie about that story as well too. I would love to
Yeah,
see like the villain characters, like what they came from.
yeah, because there was a big thing on I seen online about Daniel Larusso was actually like the bad guy.
Hmm.
Johnny was just like, pretty much he was Daniel Larusso was the one who was like leading him on, you know what I mean, to get him, you know what I mean. And then when Johnny reacted, they made Johnny the bad guy. So yeah, that's pretty neat too.
All right, speaking of bad guys, or this is one of those guys who can go either way depending on what perspective you look from him. How did you, if you watched it, how did you feel about the McMahon documentary?
I didn't watch it yet, honestly. I
Okay.
didn't. I'm going to tell you what I am watching, and you're probably going to laugh, but me and my wife love watching Love Is Blind on Netflix. It is a plane crash, and I absolutely love watching it.
All right.
I could
All
watch
right.
it. I know you
You know
wouldn't
what? I'll
think
have to
it,
check it
but
out.
I absolutely, we're addicted. As soon as it comes on, we got it on. So I didn't watch.
Well,
Once we get done these episodes, I'm going to watch the McMahon thing. But like, I mean, I heard a lot about it, but I don't, you know.
I mean,
If,
I will say this. A lot of it you probably already know. I'm not going to spoil anything for it.
no, I
There's a
mean, I
lot you
heard
don't
a ton
know,
of
and
it.
a lot of what they want you to see as well. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I'm sure things were taken, you know, cut and taken out of context and things like that as well.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah.
if there was no story behind it, it'd be boring.
Well, there's definitely a story behind it. Definitely a story. Joe Dudley says, "Good afternoon, guys. What's up, Joe? How you doing, man?"
Hi, Joe. I haven't seen Joe in a long time.
All right. Have you watched the TV show Heels?
I just watched the first episode the other day.
All right. So what do you think of it?
Um, I I think it's good. I so far, I like it, but I don't love it. I think some
Yeah.
of it is. I think that the documentary they had, Al Snow's, whatever the one Al Snow had on Netflix.
On, on OVW.
Yes,
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic because that was like, I mean, that's exactly what basically indie wrestling is. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
This was kind of like a little bit like, I don't know. I just didn't. It didn't grab me like the other one did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of shows like that, have you ever watched anything on Vice? I know, like, there's the dark side of the ring and stuff, but there was one show called The Wrestlers,
I
and
didn't
it
see that.
like
I watched the Dark Side.
check out The Wrestlers because it kind of like shows wrestling from around the world in a sense.
Mhm.
And again, it could be exaggerated in some aspects, but for the most part, it seemed like pretty down to earth with it.
Yeah, I mean wrestling. I mean, people laugh when I tell them this. Pro wrestling, like in Japan, when I got into wrestling, of course everybody wants their 5 minutes of fame with WWE. But once you're in once you're in 6 months, you realize that you're one in a million. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And my thing was to go to Japan. That's where I always wanted to go. I never got there. I got close, but it was around a time where guys started paying their own way to go there, or they'd pay
Mhm.
part of their own way to go there. And I didn't want to go there like that. And so I kind of like the person I had spoken to at the time to try and help me was Steve Carino, who was good friends with. He actually works for WWE now, and I mean, Steve's an amazing human, but he's a fantastic wrestler. His kid's Colby Carino. He's all over NWA and all now. He used to do a lot of shows with us, but Steve was he's just a good person, and Steve was trying to help me, and he put me in contact with this guy. And this is when like Facebook and this instant messaging and all this stuff was kind of like brand new. Like I don't even think it was
Mhm.
Facebook at the time, instant message, and like there was a translating thing, and we were going back and forth, and then like the thing came up like you put you in a dojo, and then but like you have to pay for your flight and stuff like that, and I couldn't. I mean, I didn't like it. I didn't like the thought that I would have paid to do it, and then two, I didn't. I just if I figured like maybe like somewhere down the road, like things would change back, and the guys that ended up paying and to go to sub, they ruined it on a lot of us, but whatever. But Japan pro wrestling in Japan is like baseball here.
Yes.
It's it's not like a I hate saying a sideshow, but some of wrestling today is a sideshow, but it is
Yeah.
like it is them people are like it's like baseball, football there. It is a big deal there. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
not just WWE side, like they're all pro wrestling there in Japan is like, like it has I think a lot more respect than it has here. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. I noticed too when I watch matches from Japan, the crowd doesn't react like they do here in the States. I
No.
mean, it is it a respect thing for them, the fans, or or is it just
I'm not really sure to be honest. Like I said, Steve was the guy who I went to because he was going over at the time
Mhm.
all the time, and he was good friends with uh, my buddy who I wrestled with for forever, Rapid Fire Maldonado, he was a Reading guy too, and um, Ralph went over there with Steve one time, and he told me how amazing it was and everything. But I think it's more like I think it's more like like here, like if you go to a Phillies game or a baseball game and somebody gets a single, people don't
Mhm.
go ape shit. They clap. You know what I mean? They clap or whatever. Hey, you got a single. Like, oh, so well, the good guy, gave him a clothesline, or they clap. So you know what I mean? Like it's just. I think it's just a different culture, and I think it's a different way they look at it. You know what I mean? Like it's more like
Yeah.
like and I know. They're more the Japanese are I think they're a lot more overall. I think they're a lot more like a stronger style.
Hmm.
Like not not kill you, but it's definitely more physical. I think wrestling than what people are used to seeing on TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I know here in the States it seems like I've seen people watch AEW and they go, you know, well, that's kind of boring watching guys chop each other and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, but over there it's completely different. Like
Yeah,
they're not holding back; they're smacking each other. I mean,
yeah.
it's they want that's it's just the way they go.
Well, it's true. I think like here, I think like I always tell people like the indies for now. I speak of this on a not everyone, but mostly people who are properly trained and went
Mhm.
to a reputable wrestling school, and depending who they're, like I said, properly trained, not just trained by some knucklehead. I think they're like for the most part. I know I was, with the Samoans, we were taught to be not stiff, but we were taught to be super tight. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like we taught you have to make it look believable. Whereas I think, like a lot of that stuff people see on TV, they see guys, barely, touching each other, or they play some replay back and you see they missed by 3 feet. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the indies is I think, more physical. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Than and two, we're doing it on the weekends. They're doing it 5 days a week.
Yeah.
But in the same token, we're going to work 5 days a week and doing this on the weekend where that's their job. So you know what
Yep.
I mean? It kind of, in my opinion, it kind of evens out. You got a guy working construction 5 days a week, and then he goes and wrestles on the weekend. That guy's body's probably just as beat up as that guy who's doing it. You know what I mean? So
Yep. Yep.
you know, but I don't know. It's different now. So
Do you think since like the 80s and 90s? By the way, how's it going, Chad? I'm not sure where Rob is tonight, man. I'm gonna check. Nope. Uh, I don't know where he's at tonight, unfortunately. You got me and Jared here, so if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything, please chime in, Chad. Definitely. We're all about that. So any questions, please feel free. All right, so what I was going to get to was in since cable TV, McMahon took it over, everything went worldwide. In the
Right.
80s, we didn't know much about like lucha libre and all the other styles and stuff like that.
Right.
What do you think today's is just that melting pot of everything at this point?
I think, yeah, and that's what, like, when you're, I think on any show there should be different things and different styles, and maybe different things appeal to different people. If you had 8 matches on a card with the same finish, the same everything, it'd be boring.
Mm,
That's why you don't have 8 steel cage matches with the same shit going on, or you don't have 8 lucha libre matches. You have, everybody kind of has their own little thing. But back in the '80s, like, the thing was, is that, people thought they knew what wrestling was, but they
mhm,
weren't. There was still some doubt as to you know what wrestling is. Now everybody knows what it is. You know what I mean? The key
yeah,
is make people forget that for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Just like if you're going to a movie, it's a movie. You know, you
yeah,
know, you know it's not the real thing, but hey, people forget about it for 2.5 hours. You know what I mean?
yes.
That's the magic of it. Because if you can make people forget about it and invest in your product, no matter what you're doing, you're doing good. But I think the melting pot is good. But I think on the same token, no matter what you're doing, when it comes to wrestling, it should be believable, and
Mhm,
it should be believable, and it should be physical. However your physical is, my physical, Rob's physical might be different than some lucha libre's physical. You know what I
mhm,
mean? But it's got to. Yeah, I think that's what takes the legitimacy away from it. Is that, oh, well, he didn't hit him, or he
mhm.
barely touched him. You know what I mean? That's what takes the nonsense. And it's kind of an insult to the fans, really, because again, you're supposed to be trying to make them forget it, and you're doing it right in front of them, and
Yeah.
it's insulting. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
But yeah, I think it's just, I don't know. I think what WWE's doing now is I think it's gotten 1,000 times better with Hunter taking over. But I think in the same token, like that AEW, don't get me wrong, it's great to have another option, but I think they're slipping. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because
Do you think it's because they're going too fast
I don't
and
know.
trying to get so much in, or
I
I
don't know.
noticed it was a little more fast paced in some aspects, and I always wondered if that's what it was.
I don't know. You watch guys like that Will Ospreay, and you watch Ricochet. Like, them guys are
Mhm,
incredible. They're incredible.
mhm,
I mean, they're athletic. They're so athletic, and I mean, they're absolutely incredible. But Will Ospreay, who is probably one of the best workers in the world right now,
mhm,
was on himself. Said, "Are you like he was had some interview with somebody, and basically was saying, like, they were saying about Dave Meltzer giving him 5-star matches all the time. He
yeah.
said I just appeal to what he likes.
Mhm,
And he said, "Are you telling, like, because I had that many? Are you telling me that I'm better than Shawn Michaels was?" He said, "I'm going to tell you right out, I'm not. I'm not better than."
mhm,
And he named a list of guys, like that. He's not. It's just what he does that Meltzer loves. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with the fan now. You know what I mean? Like, some people just might like the midgets.
yeah.
Some people might just like a bloodbath. Some people might like a tech. You could go out there. I remember one time. I remember when I first started wrestling. I was learning all these. Like, excuse me. I was learning all this chain wrestling. I learned all this chain wrestling, all this stuff, and we're out there having this great chain wrestling. And then people, they did not care one iota. They did not care at all. You know what I mean? The boys in the
Mhm,
back loved it, but they didn't like it. You know what I mean? So, like,
yeah.
when you're going out, like when you're out there, you have a general idea, but I think the guys need to be more like, again, I think they need to be more listening, use your hearing to what the fans are into.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I made it through 20 years with like 5 moves. You know what I mean? and that's not saying, I'm great because that's how I got, that was just how,
You
like,
worked.
we worked, like, and we were
Yeah.
taught to show the emotion and to tell the story and everything. I noticed with AEW, there's not a lot of story, just a lot of jumping and
Yes.
move acrobats and stuff like that,
Chad actually brought that up. He said AEW needs to have different storylines and different kinds of matches. Matt also joined in. He said, "Good afternoon to all. What's
Oh,
up, Matt?" And Chad also said Mick Foley and Vader are very physical, which, I mean, those two right there, yeah,
very
definitely. I personally, Vader and Stan Hansen, those matches for me, man, it was just like two bulls going at it.
brutal, brutal,
Yes, yes.
brutal. But nobody questioned him. Nobody questioned Stan Hansen. Nobody questioned Vader. Nobody questioned Bruiser Brody. Nobody questioned, nobody questioned, real even Mick Foley. Nobody questioned guys like that because, I mean, some of them were. I mean, there's a difference between being tight, being stiff, and being dangerous. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, to a certain degree, like Vader, anybody who said, like a lot of guys said Vader was dangerous because he was so strong and he was so agile and everything, and he just crushed you. You know what I mean? He was 450 pounds. Like, that's not good either. But in
Yeah,
the same token, nobody ever questioned the legitimacy of them guys, like Meng or what's his name, Haku. You know what I mean?
sure.
Ever question that guy, Harley
Yeah.
Race, another one, but
All
without
right.
those stories,
Out of those names, who would you want to have your back in a fight?
probably Haku, any of them Samoans, dude. I'm telling you right now. I'm honest to God. Any of them. I got my ass kicked by most of them for a good year and a half, probably a year, pretty consistently. And I'm telling you, them guys are. If you ever got in a fight anywhere, you'd want any of them. I'll take any of them. I'll take any of them.
Nice. Chad said you were also in a good tag team, and Vader is very old, a very old school wrestler.
Yeah, he was. But Vader was one of the first big guys to be very agile.
Yeah.
Nobody's seen a 400-pound man do a moonsault before or any of that crazy stuff, And
Mm,
he was very, very, very agile. He was ahead of his time, and I think if maybe he had a little bit, I think if he had a little bit, I don't know what the word is because he had all the tools. I mean, that guy was just amazing. I just think a lot of people didn't want to work with him because he was so. I don't want to say dangerous because I never wrestled him,
yeah.
but I would
You only
say
have the stories
yes. I would
or
say
heard
he was
stuff.
very stiff. I would
Okay.
say stiff.
Now, here's a question for you. You might know: did Vader or Bigelow? Did they come out around the same time, or was Vader first?
I think Vader was first. Vader was older than Bam Bam.
Okay. That's another big guy right there. That was very agile.
Yeah, and Bam Bam made it look like he was killing you, but he wasn't killing you.
Hmm.
Vader, as I understand, was killing you.
Yeah. I mean, the guy had his eye pop out in the middle of a match. I mean,
Yeah, that would have
that's
been
a
that
tough
would have been the
stuff.
end for me. I don't care how much they're paying me. That would have been the end for me, at least for tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Chad said Vader was first. Right on,
Yeah.
man. All right. So the tag team that you were in, that Chad talks about, what tag
Yeah.
team was that?
Zero tolerance. Me and Tommy. Well, it was actually a three-way thing. It was me, Tommy Golden, and Rapid Fire Maldonado, and we all came up. Tommy was in first. Tommy was in probably a year before me, year and a half. He was a Reading boy, and then Ralph was a Reading boy, and me and Ralph started around the same time. But Ralph trained with Jimmy Dio in Blandon.
that? That's a name I haven't heard for a while.
Man, it's probably a good thing too. And then I was with Offa and Sam, and then I mean, me and Tommy and Ralph, we were really, I mean, we were legitimately, we were really good friends in real life.
Hmm.
So, um, we started that probably. we started that. I tore my tricep tendon in 2010, and when I was rehabbing, I was out for a year. I couldn't do nothing for a year. Um, when I was rehabbing and all, we came up with all this thing like we could do. So we had this, it was kind of like the free bird rules and stuff like that. And I mean, we had it. Ralph wasn't really. Ralph was with us on more of the local shows, and then like me and Tommy went wherever. And yeah, that was a fun little run we had. We had a good time. We had some, we got to work a lot of, cool places, and stuff. But it was, I mean, we had a lot of fun with it, and we weren't. That's why I said we never made it to the big time, but we acted like we did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had a we had a blast with it. That was probably one of the highlights of my 20 years. Some couple years we had that going on. Because it was a real thing. We were really
Yeah.
you got to do it with your butt. We were all, you develop relationships with these guys. But I mean, me and Tommy and Ralph, we were friends outside of wrestling. If there was no wrestling, we still would have been friends. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
Right on, man. Right on. So in that 20 years of wrestling, have you ever had a fan interaction, kind of like a Piper story where somebody tried to stab you or something?
Me and Tommy got um when we were doing the zero tolerance thing. I think it was for Rob. It was in a Rutherford, PA. I don't know. I don't even remember how it I don't even remember how it happened, but I'm pretty sure we ended up giving our finisher was like the 3D. So we ended up giving this girl manager, Rabid Rizzo. She went by, and she was cool. She was like one of the guys. She was kind of like this punk rock thing, and we were. I don't know. We wrestled. I don't even remember who we wrestled, but she was managing them, and I don't know. She smacked Tommy, and we gave her the 3D, and these people went insane. And then we went out there, and we'd go out there and we'd screw with them, later on. And when we were leaving, um, it was kind of like I don't know. I don't think I've ever been scared, but I was kind of a little uncomfortable because we were leaving, and Rutherford isn't really like wasn't like a really bad place. It was kind of nice, and
Mhm.
these people were throwing cans at us. They were throwing, we had hoodies on. I had my hoodie up over on, and they're following us out to the car. And the guys that were working security are walking us out. And, I said, listen, man, I said, we got to get to your car, and we got to get there quick. And, Tommy's like, I don't want them doing nothing to my car, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, man, I said, we got to get to your damn car and get there quick. Open the doors, and and it was just it wasn't like a long walk because we went out the back and walked around the side, and these people were throwing shit at us and, all kind of crazy, and I told him, I said, dude, just run. And we ran in the car, and it was like a getaway, you know what I mean? That was probably like
Yeah.
the goofiest thing that ever happened, I mean, there's been a lot of places that you go where you get like really good heat from a match or something. I don't know. These people I don't know what the hell it was, but somebody struck a nerve somewhere, you know what I mean? But it was fun, I still laugh about it now because like the guys that were working security were like so much smaller than us. And I'm like, I'm telling them, look, man, you got to keep them back. I don't know what the hell they were going to do, I was
Yeah.
like, but that was probably the closest. I never got into I don't think I've ever gotten into any, physical altercation. And
Excuse me.
I was pretty, I could get pretty nasty with people. And I don't think I don't ever remember any anyway.
Pretty nasty with people. All right. Have you ever had any? All right. What's the worst thing you've had thrown at you?
I, I don't. I probably full bottles. I had a bottle thrown at me one time. A full bottle of beer. I had a bottle of beer thrown at me. That's probably the worst thing. Like yeah, I don't. I think in a couple. We had like fans bring the weapons matches. People would sometimes throw like stupid shit. You know what I mean? But
What's the dumbest thing you were ever hit with?
what's that?
Dumbest thing you were ever hit with?
Probably a diaper.
What?
Yeah, not a shitty diaper. Just like a diaper. Like some lady, I guess, had diapers in her bag, and I was walking. We were outside, working outside, and this lady pulled a diaper out of her thing, and she whipped me, like hit me with this diaper, and I didn't even know what to say because I saw it was a diaper. I'm thinking if there's shit on that, I'm gonna be mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was a clean diaper. It was, I guess it was the only thing she had to grab at the time. I don't know. You know,
That's awesome.
a
That
diaper.
is awesome.
I know, right?
Oh man. All right. So I know I bring up AEW every once in a while. I have to bring this up though. I just recently seen a photo of Shane McMahon hanging out with the Young Bucks or whatever. I guess
Yeah.
everybody think minus AEW itself. What is your take on Shane doing business with another company?
I mean,
Being the lineage of like the McMahons.
I guess it don't matter now. You know what I mean? I don't trust. I mean, if I was Tony Khan, I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah.
Triple H is still my brother-in-law. Vince McMahon's still my dad. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What's the easiest way to take somebody down? You get somebody in there to infiltrate it. Shane McMahon, does he does him and his dad get along? Who knows? Maybe they do. Maybe they don't, but you got to remember something. Vince McMahon is the guy who took down the entire United States territories. He took it all down himself. Nobody
Yep.
else. He took down an entire nation territory. Your act got stale somewhere. You went to a different territory and you were good for another year or two. And then you went to another territory and you went back and everybody had work and everybody was working 3, 4, 5 days a week. You know what I mean? Vince McMahon
Yep.
took all that. So, I mean, he as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't trust. Personally, I would not trust it. I mean,
Yeah.
Tony Khan's got more money than Vince McMahon supposedly, so I guess maybe. But I don't think. Excuse me. I don't think. If you see Shane in AEW, then something along the way between Tony Khan and Vince McMahon or somebody was worked out.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because now you have these promotions. Like okay, so I mean, you're WCW, WWE. You never would have had anybody showing up on the other show, even for a Hall of Fame thing, or now you have TNA guys. TNA is kind of like I mean, them guys are great, but I mean, it's probably a glorified indie fed. They're
Mhm.
working. They're getting a lot of exposure going on NXT, and some guys that are going on there. But you never would have seen that before. So I guess
Mhm.
if he's there. There's some kind of agreement. I would guess. I might be wrong, but that would be my opinion.
All right. So growing up, who were some of your inspirations? It doesn't even have to be. It doesn't have to be wrestlers. Could be life or anything.
When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I was very. And people don't believe me when I tell them this. When I was a kid, I was very quiet. Like I was super quiet. I got picked on when I was young. I was, you know what I mean, and I was, very, very quiet. I didn't come out of my shell till later on in life, and um, I think my grandfather, my mother's father, was a coal miner, an Irish coal miner, and he was the one who got me into sports, and he was my best friend ever, and he was I was with him a lot. My dad worked, and my mom was a house wife and worked for my father. My father did insurance. He was working all the time, and my dad was a pretty big influence too. My mom was. I wasn't, and the thing was, is I don't really do like a whole lot of family stuff, and I didn't really have like a really big family. Like I had like my couple aunts and uncles, but it wasn't like these, people have like 50 people at like birthday parties and stuff. We had like
Mhm.
10 or 12, like so a lot of it, my family obviously was, very influential. My grandfather probably the most out of anybody. Um, my grandmother, his wife, she was always, she was Irish Catholic. She always, had a rosary with her. She was always praying a
Mhm.
rosary. You know what I mean? And my aunt, I had a couple aunts. My one aunt was, I still say she's the toughest human being I ever met in my life. She took no shit from no one. So I got
Yeah.
a little bit of her, thing. But I think like as far as I think like when I tell people like I was telling my wife this the other day because my wife's a lot younger than me. My wife's 16 years younger than me, and I tell her, the 80s were like for me. I think the late 70s, early 80s were like the best time ever. Like as far as like movies, music, everything. But I think like in that time, like you had like your guys that were like that all the young guys wanted to be like your Hogans, your Rockies, your Mr. T's. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I think like I think as far as I think that was like with the exception of family or whatever. I think like my biggest influences were what I seen like what I seen at that time
Mhm.
on television. Athletes or you know what I mean, like with
For,
like he
for
played
me, for
sports.
me, the
You know,
movies. For me, the movies. All right. So the one that always stands out to me that I always wanted to be like, it wasn't Rambo. It wasn't Rocky. It was Cobra.
there you go. Yes, yes.
That was the Stallone character that always stuck with me.
But there was all these characters that like
Mhm.
that showed you like actually like what a man was supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of it was a little far fetched. But when you're a kid, you know what I mean. You don't know. You know what I mean? It's just I
Well,
think that part was
you had
great.
movies like Porky's. Remember Porky's?
Yes, fantastic. You know,
Yeah.
but they had
Yeah.
the Porky's, Revenge of the Nerds, all them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean at the time.
Hands down, Animal House. Animal
Animal.
House is one of my favorite movies. Every
And
time a new customer would come in the bar, I'd always yell, "Otis, my man!"
yeah, but see, that's what
Every
I mean though.
time.
And people like now, there's nothing like now. It's I don't even what the hell I don't even know what the hell you call it. There's nothing like that now. Like
No.
and I think too, and it's funny because I know it's entertainment and I know it's whatever, but I think part of that helps to a degree, like shape your brain a little bit. Like, oh, if I see this guy can do it, then I can do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's not now. What I mean, I don't even know what you have now. Now you have P Diddy on TV every 10 minutes buying 1,000 bottles of baby oil. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
great. You know?
Well, we grew up in an era of sitcoms
Yeah, yeah,
that it's not it's like that anymore. I mean, how many old sitcoms do you sit down and it was wholesome family fun?
yeah. It's not like that no more. And there was not,
No.
and no one was offended all the time. Like there was,
Nope.
the jokes, the Archie Bunkers, the Jeffersons, all in the
Blazing
fam.
Saddles. Blazing
Yes,
Saddles.
Blazing Saddles, Cheech and Chong. Nobody was offended. You know what I mean?
No, no. And I think that's just because of people like it was just media back then was a certain way. All you had was radio or TV. You didn't have cell phones, social medias, internet, anything getting out there in a split second like it was. Back then, it's just uh, you accepted it for what it was. And I'm not saying, I mean, I'm glad to see things change. I definitely am. It's just the whole oversensitive part with it that I think goes to the extreme sometimes.
I agree. I think too. It's just I think it causes people to. I think it causes people to not sometimes want to interact with other people or
Mhm.
not do like. No, I mean, like I don't want to say not. I think like not so much be themselves. Obviously, you don't want to be disrespectful to someone else, but like I know I have a certain humor that not's for everyone's taste, and and that's
It's
fine.
just called dark. It's called dark humor. People like
Yeah,
some slapstick humor. Other people like
yeah,
lighthearted. Whatever it is. But yeah, and I think we always worry like, are we going to offend this person? To feel like we're
exactly.
trying to feel them out to be ourselves around them. So at the same time, we're feeling ourselves out. Like, how do we react here?
I
And it's
used to,
yeah, that's anxiety.
yeah, and it does, and and that could cause like social anxiety because what am
Hmm.
I gonna? What am I going to talk about? Am I going to offend this person? You're like, I used to die laughing when I'd be watching the Jeffersons and George Jefferson. I call his white neighbor honky. You know what I mean? Do that now and see what the hell happens. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. And I think that a lot of that, like, people don't like going to, like, sometimes it causes social anxiety because, well, what am I going to say? What am I going to? I don't want to offend this one. I can't offend that one. It's goofy.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's almost, I almost feel like it's almost like a self-induced anxiety nowadays because of all that. Where before you can just feel like this is the way it is, okay, but now it's like, hi, I just met you, and in your head you're like, in 10 different ways am I going to offend this person?
Yeah, I think it's. I agree 100%. I don't know. Just different, I guess. I don't.
All right, so you in the entertainment business, you know about shock jocks like Howard Stern.
Yes.
Do you remember the Opie and Anthony show?
Yes.
Do you remember the crazy shit they did on that show?
Yeah. Them, the Jerky Boys.
Yes. Yes. I mean, they had what? Wow, bumper stickers, whip them out Wednesday,
Yeah.
all around New York. Didn't
Yeah.
they have the sex Olympics?
They had. I
Like,
mean, there was all kind of stuff. I mean,
and they were putting on the public airways, and at that time, I'm like, wow, this is pretty crazy. Like this shit in the airwaves, like they really pushed the limits of what can be done.
like I said, things are just. I think everybody just chills out a little bit, and maybe things would be a little bit better.
Maybe everybody should smoke a joint at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what it takes, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying. You know.
All right, man. So we maybe touched a little bit of mental health today. So we were talking about those tough guys, Vader and Stan Hansen and Harley Race. How do you
Yeah.
think those guys handled shit when they were not mentally headstrong? Do you think it was booze? Do you think they pushed through it? Do you think like they just stuck to the old "I'm a tough guy" mentality?
I don't know. I think I I would guess. I mean, I would say probably. Everybody's different. I would say probably. You know, I would probably say there was some booze involved. Maybe
Mm,
a lot of cigarettes and maybe some kind of narcotic. I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of hard when you're on the road like them guys are to
yeah.
to deal with. I mean, I don't know. I think I think everybody at that was definitely a point, and they were definitely some guys. I don't think that would ever be like, hey, I need some help. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see that happening. You know what I
You
mean?
just they would have just pushed through it.
Yeah, and I think pushing through it is what causes a lot of problems. Is why a lot of wrestlers are. There was a lot of suicides in a lot of them pro wrestler. You know what I mean? Like them guys think you're just I and it was broken down for me when I started, and it was like you have yourself as a person and you have the character you portray.
Mhm.
The character you portray, most of the characters, the best characters that people portray are as close to your normal personality or things, that you have ideas in your head, you know what I mean? That, like it's like your own personality and you turn the volume up to 30, you know what I mean? But in the same token, you have to be able to separate them people. There's this person that you are, and there's this character, and you have to be able to separate them. If you can't separate them, I'm telling you right now, that is a 100. I don't care if you're wrestling once a month or if you're wrestling once a day. That is a recipe for disaster. 100,
Mhm.
because that character is exactly that. It's a character. And you can be a tough guy, but even tough guys get to the point where you know and this is where I think guys have a lot of trouble with it. Not saying everybody thinks they're a tough guy, but I think a lot of it is, like, I can just push through. I can get through. I'm supposed to get through, and sometimes that's just not in the cards.
Mhm.
Huh. And I mean, what do you do when things get too much? You know, what's your coping mechanism? Is
Yes.
your coping mechanism a positive thing? Like you go to the gym, you go for a run, you know, talk to somebody, or is it a negative thing where you drown yourself in booze, cigarettes, and drugs? You know what I
Or
mean? If you're
self harm.
right and you're
I mean,
in
that's just another form of self harm is taking those
absolutely,
substances. But then there's
absolutely,
the physical aspect, ones that have cut themselves, stuff like that. You know,
yeah,
like it's just another version of it. If they don't, and I don't think a lot of people see it that way. It's just another
no.
version of self harm on themselves.
I mean, if you're doing the later and you're doing the self harm, I mean, that don't tell me you're a tough guy. That tells me that you're, you know, you either have a death wish, or you're, you know, uneducated, or you're, you know, like you're afraid to reach out for help. I mean,
Exactly.
I don't know. You know,
I
like I
think.
know because I didn't when I years ago I didn't want help either, and I thought you could just get through it. And then finally, everybody has that point where you're going to get to that you say, listen, somebody's either going to give you the ultimatum, or you're going to give yourself the ultimatum.
Exactly. So it kind of brings me to this point, man. So being on this side of the spectrum, being on this side of the spectrum with things, after do you look at it at a point where you're like, it's more manly to face it head on than to try to hide it?
Yeah, I think the facing it is. I think admitting that you have an issue is
It's
like
probably the
it's like
manliest thing you can do.
yeah,
And
it is because you can't just say, listen, you're basically lying, and you're lying to
yeah,
yourself. And you know, and until you're lying to, and like me and my wife were talking about this the other day too. Therapy. I went to therapy for a little bit, and therapy for me didn't work. And
hmm
because I don't know, for me it just didn't. It wasn't a good thing. I like kind of do my own therapy to myself now. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm not saying therapy's bad. I think for some people or whatever, I think therapy's like great. You know what I mean? But I think you got
yeah,
to find your own niche. Like, you know,
hmm
if you think, and I'm not saying to like, you know, oh, I think you should be on 50 different medications, but like if you need something to take the edge off, see your doctor, see a
sure,
psychiatrist, get get the help. If you think
yep,
talking to somebody's going to help you, then get the help. But if you don't have, if you can't say, listen, it's kind of like a kid saying, admitting that they did something. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like, or lying about it. Like, hey, listen, hey, who stole a candy bar? Listen, I did. That kid had more balls by saying, listen, I did it, than letting everybody else take it for him.
yeah. Rob, we are still on. Chad had made this statement. The line can be blurry sometimes. I us going through it, the line's probably been blurry numerous times, right?
Absolutely.
How did you handle those blurry moments?
I honestly, they're it's all. I think they're all different depending on the situation. You know, like I didn't want, like I didn't. I thought again, I was the one of the biggest ones that fell into the stigma of it's weak, or I don't need it, or that's not me, or whatever else like that. You know,
Mhm.
I think when it gets to the point where if it's even crossing your mind that there's an issue, then you need to take some kind of action before it gets too far out ahead of you. Because that's what was
Yeah,
happening to me. It was getting way too far out ahead of me.
yeah. Real fast, Rob. The link is in the group comments or in the group chat. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Is he here?
He's going to be joining us.
Okay.
Um, Chad also said meds sometimes made things worse for him.
Well, sometimes they do. You got to find the
It,
right
it's
one.
it's kind of a trial and error.
Yeah.
I know for me, at one time when I had severe anxiety, they put me on Boost Bar, which actually amplified my anxiety 10 times worse.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Everybody's different. Like they gave me one time. I forget the name of it, but whatever it was, I was at work and my face felt like it was on fire, and
Mhm.
my face was red, my ears were red, I could feel my heart bumping, and I called them. I said, "Listen, something's not right here." I said, I feel like this is." I said, "I'm assuming it's my blood pressure." I said, "But I'm not taking this no more." So they got me in the next day, and I told what it was, and they're like, "Yeah," they said I shouldn't be doing it. So they switched it. So different things definitely. Just because it worked for me or you, don't mean it's going to work for whoever.
Yeah. All right. Rob would like.
Whoa. Hello. Where'd everybody go? Hello?
I'm here, man. Sorry, I had to invite
That's
Rob
okay.
in. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
There we
you
go.
good?
All right,
Okay.
perfect. Yeah, I had to send Rob the link.
You okay?
Uh, so I'm back now officially. Um, yeah, man. Sorry. So you were saying like the gym and stuff like that works for you before. Do you think physical activity in general helps with getting those endorphins going, and kind of like your serotonin and stuff like that? Do you think that helps a lot?
Yeah, exercise is the best medicine for anything. Your diet, your exercise is the best medicine for anything.
Mhm.
Period. 100%.
Even just the simplest thing is walking. I know for me personally, that's one of the best things, and it may not even just be like the physical getting out there and moving around. For me, it's almost like a focus thing because I'll pay
Yeah.
attention to everything around me, the leaves, trees, ground, any nature, anything that's taking my mind from going like talking to itself. To be honest, I mean that's when we stress out. That's all we're doing is talking to ourselves in our head. And
Yeah.
once I can break that cycle, it helps. It's just a matter of finding those little things, and the biggest thing is appreciation behind it too, because once you find those other things, you're going to appreciate it so much more.
You're absolutely correct. 100%. You can't. It don't have to be. It don't have to be like bench pressing 900 pounds. It could be a walk, a jog. Take your dog for a walk or something. You know what I mean? Or But I think too. I think a big thing I see, and I said this today, and when I reposted your thing about the podcast today, um,
Mhm.
throughout my week in all aspects of my life, whether it be work, gym, therapy, when I go to physical therapy or whether I'm just out and about, I run into at least five guys who I talk to that will openly admit they have anxiety, and most of the time it's anxiety. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of it is the way the world is now with money, with how expensive things are, with how, being able to afford things for their kids and blah, 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 And
Yep.
I, some guys don't know what it is. And I explain to them, like, I tell them, we do this, podcast thing and everything. And some of them are still, I think some of them are still to the point where it's like, it's not, it's, and it's just this, it's just that it's not. And that's why I try to tell them it's not just anything.
No.
It's
No.
just, it's just that the way society is today and the way things are expensive and the way guys, I'm not saying, and no, I'm not saying women don't, because God Almighty, I don't want to be hung. But guys have a lot of stressors that I think are more evident than what you know. Um, kids or, maybe the wives or whatever, and again, I'm not saying they don't have it. I think husbands, especially husbands, fathers, more so than anybody, have, that feeling like I'm the caretaker. I'm supposed to be doing this, supposed to be doing that. What if I
Mhm.
can't do this? What if I can't do that? What if gas goes up to $5 a gallon? How am I going to afford this? How am I going to put my kid through school? How am I going to do all this stuff? And I think guys feel that, even though we're at a time when women have taken an active role in helping and doing things on their own, they still think that this is their own sole responsibility. And
Mhm.
I think that, is, I think that's something that is not helping anything with,
Mhm.
with how the mentality of it goes, because, oh, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. And I said, listen, you guys, I'll tell you what you do. There's going to come a time when either this is going to pass, or there's going to come a time when you're going to say, listen, I can't, and I need
Yep.
something.
Yep.
Said and the longer you put it off, the worse it's going to be. So,
Yeah.
you can only do.
It, it's the buildups. It's the buildups of it's going to get better. It's the buildups of, you know, it's nothing to worry about. It's all the buildups of everything until it just overflows, and then you can't. It it's either you're okay until you're not, flat out,
That's right. And you know, and
flat out.
and this is another thing that kills me. And again, I'm not on the woman hating thing, but like, women get away with a lot more than guys do. Let's be honest.
Yes. Yes. So I was gonna get into. I was gonna get into that too at some point, man.
You know what I
Not,
mean?
not, not a bad way. Not in a
No,
bad
but
way.
they get away with
It's
a lot
it's
more because,
it
like,
was a generational thing for us, I
exactly,
think.
and it is. It's a
Yeah.
generational thing, but in the same token, like, like I okay, so I had a job before I worked at the prison, and these ladies, and I always say, and I'm going to get heat for this one, but it's okay. I always say you could have five guys in a room, and one guy could say, "Oh, my wife or my girlfriend is this, that, the other thing." Most of the time, them other guys ain't going to say shit. They're
Mhm.
not going to say a word, or they'll say, "Oh, whatever, blah blah blah," and they'll start complaining about their wife, and in 5 minutes, it's over and done with. You get one woman with at least one other woman, one with at least one other, yet alone five, and you start talking bad about your significant other, your husband,
Mhm.
whatever. I guarantee that guy has a 0% chance of winning. Zero, none, zip, zilch, none. They like to talk about their, you know, I always tell people never complain about your significant other to anybody outside of your home, because you are not going to win. If you are a
Mhm.
man, you are not going to win that fight. I'm telling
Mhm.
you, you are not. And these ladies, they used to like that. It was an office, and these ladies used to say things like, I'm mad at my husband for, and I haven't talked to him in 3 days. What in God's
Mhm.
name do you think that does to that man? Some guys be like, listen, I don't care if she talks to me or, all that stuff. But most guys be like, oh my God, now I got this on top of everything else. Like, what in the
Yep.
going on here? And
Yep.
I say it don't bother me, and it does. You know what I mean? So, like, that's another thing. Like I think like admitting you have things that bother you. It's everybody has things that bother you, but vocalizing it, no matter what it may be, and keeping good communication with your
Mhm.
spouse, good communication with your good friends or therapists, whoever. I think that is it's absolutely, that support is it might keep you from having to take medication. It might, better yet,
Mhm.
it might keep you from doing something really stupid that you're going to regret later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I agree with you 100%, brother. 100%. Um, what I was going to say earlier, with nothing generational. And Rob, I sent another link. Hopefully, it lets you in, man. Um, for us, it was a generational thing. We grew up in an era where the coal miners, Vietnam War,
Yes.
for the Korean War. I can say from my personal life, my father, he was a Navy guy, went through Vietnam. My stepdad, he was also a Vietnam guy, went through the Army. My stepdad was shot 16 times,
Oh my
and,
God. God bless.
and still pushed through. Every day, my stepdad would do his farming. He was a volunteer firefighter, drove tanker for a local dairy, and was also a roadmaster for the township. He just kept on the move, moving, moving, moving. But that generational thing, it was always the weight of the man to take care of this.
Yeah.
And I noticed this, especially now when I'm moving up with my mom. Um, she was very man reliant, and that's one her age, yes, but at the same time, it was the generational thing.
Yeah.
This is the way she was raised. She was growing up, and me and my wife are like different. I mean, we instead of one person having it on their shoulders, we both put it on their shoulder and
That's
carry it.
right. That's we do. Me and my wife do the exact same thing. And
Yeah.
it's so helpful, and and like people say, I seen this thing the other day. People say marriage and all this stuff is 50-50, and this lady was on. She's like, that's bullshit, because there's going to be days where you can only give 10%, and the other partner has to pick up the 90. And I'm
Yep.
not going to
And
lie,
vice
you know
versa.
what I mean. Like, and sometimes if you have a little run where it's a couple days, sometimes people be like, oh my God, you know what I mean? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and she's doing this, he's doing that, and I got to be picking up all the slack. But that's okay, and it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to do that thing, because essentially now, you know, people work as teams. But when we grew up, it's not that they weren't teams, but the important stuff, the big stuff, the things that the big decisions and all. There was a lot of times that the women didn't even have a choice in voicing their opinion. It was, listen, this is the
Yep.
way it is, and that's it, and that's
Yeah.
not right
I mean,
either.
if you look at the books from the 1950s, How to Train Your Wife
Yeah,
or stuff like that, I mean, but that's the generation our parents came from.
yeah, and I mean, and
So it's a trailing mentality. I think we're in the fading portion of it right now,
absolutely,
um, with our generation. But yeah, I think um, that's it. So with that female aspect, it's not even just the looks or anything else, but through that generational gap, I mean, it's a major change these days. It's insane. I see night and day.
yeah. There's
All right,
always somebody to try to be able there to help you.
there.
Period.
There's one thing I wanted to bring up though, and I see this a lot. So it says that you know when you're angry at something, you're only punishing yourself because you're the one angry at it. If you control that anger, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, anger is one of my. It's. I think it's something that we all. I don't get. I don't have. I think when I was younger, I was more angry than I am now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but I
I
mean,
think it's more full.
besides the anger though, but I mean, life in general though, those moments when we're overwhelming ourselves with all those thoughts, is it
Oh yeah. I mean,
similar to that where we're actually punishing ourselves with all that
we
instead
make
of
it
taking
work.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're right. I mean, absolutely. Because like, but and I don't so much do it with that, but like sometimes if you just vocalize something that that's bothering you to somebody, and they're like, listen, that's no big deal, or that's whatever, that right there, that reassurance, or that little bit of kick in the ass, sometimes that's all it takes.
yep, yep. Don't leave yourself in doubt.
No, and don't leave yourself alone, because like it's
Hmm.
not, it's not, it's just, it's not worth it. It's not. The outcome is never going to be positive if you can't get over that hump.
Exactly.
You know,
I don't know what's going on with Rob here. I don't know if he was able to click in.
I can't see him on. He sent me a message, said, "Yo, you still on?" But I don't know if he's
Yeah,
having issues with his phone and stuff. But you
he
know,
was he was at a party earlier. He just lost track of time.
it's all right. It is what it is. So now I guess you could tell the people that are on. I guess we're gonna have you have it set up now that we could have like a guest or somebody else on now on the podcast.
Yes. Yes,
So,
coming up on future ones, anybody that would like to, oh, sorry, here, anybody that would like to join us on here, I am able to have more guests. So just shoot me a message, let me know, and we can get you on. And we'll be more than happy to talk about anything and everything. I mean, we know life's difficult. We also know we got a lot of wrestling fans in here too, as well, and music lovers. So, like I said, we're open to conversation. It's every first Sunday of the month here on the Bartender's Jukebox. And you never know what we're going to talk about. And today, I mean, I think we covered a lot. And
yeah,
I mean, it went pretty smooth today.
it is, and it's. I'll tell you what, man. It's very. People don't realize how just therapeutic it is just to be here. I mean, like people. You can talk to your wife, talk to your whatever, but when you can talk, when you're, it's like sometimes a woman talking to a woman that has the same issues, a guy's talking to a guy that has the same issues and everything. It takes that little bit of loneliness away that you're on that aisle. It's just good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know there's some people that hit me up before about being on, so I'm going to send a message out to them. One's a guy I used to work with, military his whole life.
Nice.
PTSD, did a lot for his soldiers, and he was in the army. So I'm going to reach out to him, and we'll see. And I'm hoping it opens some guys up. I mean, I think we all know some guys that need it. I don't think that a lot of them are ready to admit that they need it yet, but I think it's like I told him, it's not even a therapy. It's a bullshit session to get some things off your chest. To get
Yep.
have a little gossip session for an hour or so, and it's therapeutic. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, we'll always in some way get back to mental health, but we will talk about everything and anything. Try to stay away from politics. I mean, that's the culture toxicity right now.
Yeah,
but
that's a good rule.
I mean, yeah, politics and religion. I try to stay away from. I mean, just the golden rule.
Just like in the bar. Just like in the bar.
You know what though? But I mean, I don't mind listening about religion, but I don't want to hear debate about religion.
Yeah, no, because everybody's entitled to their own little thing. You know what I mean? So it is. I don't. You are what you are. I am what I am, and we'll just respect it like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%. So, brother,
all
until
right.
next first Sunday.
All
like
right.
I always say, stay thirsty for life. It's myself, Mark, and Jared, aka Oxhog, and we are suplexing the stigma together. So tune in next time and join in. Shoot us a message, we'll get you on.
Bye bye. I'll see you later. Peace out.